You should just be happy she's moving on, my fiancé's affair partner said casually, sipping his drink. I chuckled. I will be. But first, you're gonna have a little accident. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting in a bar, staring at the man who wrecked my life, trying not to snap his neck. But here I was. It started 2 months ago. I was engaged to Sophie, smart, funny, beautiful. My best friend. We had a wedding date set. We had a house. We had a life. And then I found out she had someone else. I wasn't looking for trouble when I found out. I wasn't digging through her phone, sniffing around like some paranoid idiot. No. It came to me, dropped in my lap like a grenade with the pin halfway pulled. I was at work when I got a text from an unknown number. You deserve to know. Attached was a picture. Sophie. In a hotel room. Wearing nothing but a sheet. Another man's tattooed arm wrapped around her. The arm wasn't mine. The room spun. I had to sit down. I stared at the picture, my brain refusing to believe what my eyes saw. The sheets were white. The curtains were that ugly beige color hotels love. Her hair was a mess. She was smiling. Smiling. I thought I might throw up. I typed back. Who is this? No answer. Just another picture. Same hotel room. Different angle. This time, I saw his face. I recognized him. Ryan. I had met him a few times. One of those guys who thinks he's the funniest guy in the room. Loud, confident, the kind of guy people either love or want to punch in the mouth. I never paid him much attention. Just another guy in our social circle. Apparently, more than that to Sophie. I sat there, feeling like the wind had been knocked out of me. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe it was an old picture. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Deep down, I already knew the truth. I went home early. I didn't text her. Didn't call. Just walked into our house like a ghost. Everything looked the same. Our pictures on the wall. Her shoes by the door. The candle she liked burning on the table. I walked into our bedroom. The bed we shared. The bed where I had told her my biggest fears. My dreams. The bed where we laughed, where we fought, where we planned our future. I wondered how many times she had come home from his bed and climbed into this one next to me. The thought made my skin crawl. I sat down on the edge of the bed and stared at my hands. They were shaking. My phone buzzed. Sophie. Hey, babe. Are you working late? I was thinking of picking up dinner. I stared at the text. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. My heart pounded. I thought about sending the pictures. Just dropping them into her inbox and waiting for the explosion. Instead, I put my phone down. I needed to hear her lie to me in person. She came home an hour later, smiling, holding a bag of takeout. She walked in, kissed me on the cheek, and started talking about her day. I watched her. I watched the way her eyes crinkled when she laughed. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear. The way she acted normal. Like she wasn't sleeping with someone else. I let her talk. I let her set the table. I let her pour me a drink. Then I asked. Who's Ryan? She froze. It was less than a second. A flicker of something across her face. But I caught it. What? She laughed. Ryan? Why are you asking about him? I pulled out my phone. Laid it on the table. Opened the messages. Turned the screen toward her. She went pale. At first, she denied it. Swore she didn't know what I was talking about. Then, when I didn't respond, the tears started. She cried. Begged. Said it was a mistake. That she didn't mean for it to happen. That she still loved me. I asked her how long. She hesitated. That half-second pause that told me whatever she was about to say was going to be a lie. Only once. Bullshit. I asked again. Just a few times. I asked again. And again. By the time I was done, the truth was out. 6 months. A full 6 months of sneaking around. I didn't yell. Didn't break anything. I just stood up, walked into the bedroom, grabbed a bag, and started packing. She followed me, still crying. Still begging. I didn't say a word. She grabbed my arm. Please, let's talk about this. I looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman I thought I was going to marry. The woman I thought I knew. I felt nothing. I pried her fingers off my arm, grabbed my bag, and walked out. I stayed with a friend. For the first few days, I ignored her texts. Then came the calls. Then the messages from mutual friends. Sophie was spiraling. She's a wreck, man. She wants to fix things. She made a mistake. Don't throw everything away. I ignored them all. Until one night, a week later, when I got another text from an unknown number. Meet me at Joe's bar. We should talk. Ryan. I almost didn't go. Almost ignored it. But something in me needed to see him. Needed to know why. So I went. He was already there when I arrived, sitting at a booth, sipping a drink like he didn't have a care in the world. When he saw me, he grinned. Hey, man. Glad you came. I sat down across from him. Didn't say a word. He smirked. Look, I get it. You're pissed. But you should be happy, man. She's moving on. I stared at him. I could feel my fingers tightening around the glass in front of me. I will be, I said. Then I smiled. But first, you're gonna have a little accident. Ryan blinked, the smirk on his face flickering for the first time. Excuse me, he said, tilting his head. I didn't answer. Just stared at him. Let the words hang in the air, let him feel them. The bar was loud, people laughing, glasses clinking, but between us, it was silent. Ryan shifted in his seat. His confidence cracked just a little, but he forced a chuckle. You're joking, right? I wasn't. I leaned in. Do I look like I'm joking? He swallowed. His Adam's apple bobbed. He tried to play it cool, shaking his head with that same smug grin. Look, man, I get it. You're upset. But Sophie's a grown woman. She made her choice. He sipped his drink, shrugged. You should just be happy she's moving on. That was it. The moment I lost whatever restraint I had left. I moved fast. My hand shot across the table, grabbing his wrist, squeezing hard enough to make the glass rattle. His eyes widened. I leaned in, my voice low. You think this is funny? He flinched but forced another laugh. Dude, chill. Chill. This man had slept with my fiancé for 6 months. Lied to my face. Sat across from me now like he was doing me a favor. And he wanted me to chill? I let go of his wrist and sat back, taking a deep breath. I wasn't going to punch him. Not yet. That was too easy. I wanted to see him squirm. I grabbed my drink, took a slow sip, and stared at him until he started shifting in his seat again. How long have you been screwing around on your wife, Ryan? He stiffened. That wiped the smirk right off his face. Yeah. I knew. Ryan wasn't just some bachelor. He wasn't some random guy Sophie had met at work. Ryan was married. With kids. I found out 2 days after Sophie admitted to the affair. I wasn't looking for anything. Honestly, I was trying to forget the whole thing, trying to get through each miserable hour without smashing something. But then I got another text. Unknown number, you're not the only one being lied to. Another picture. Ryan. Sitting in a park. A woman next to him. A little girl in his lap. His family. I called the number immediately. A woman picked up. Hello? Who is this? I asked. She hesitated. Is this Sophie's fiancé? My stomach dropped. Who are you? I demanded. She took a breath. I'm Ryan's wife. Her name was Allison. She told me everything. Ryan had done this before. Sophie wasn't the first. He had a pattern. Find someone new, string them along for months, then dump them when things got too complicated. Sophie thought she was special. She wasn't. Neither was I. I should have felt relieved that she'd been played too. That I wasn't the only idiot. But it didn't help. If anything, it made it worse. Because I had loved her. And she had thrown it away for a man who didn't even care about her. Ryan's jaw tightened. That's none of your business. I smiled. Oh, but it is. I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen, and slid it across the table. It was open to a message thread. Me and Allison. His face drained of color. You son of a, careful, I cut him off. You don't want to make a scene, do you? His hand clenched into a fist. He looked around, realizing the bar was full of people. I tapped the screen again, showing him a message I had typed but hadn't sent yet. It was addressed to his boss. A very professional email with attached screenshots of his texts with Sophie, including some very NSFW pictures. Ryan worked for a family-oriented company. They did not tolerate scandals. I met his eyes. If you don't want this email to go out, you're going to listen. His whole body went rigid. I never wanted Sophie back. Not after this. But I wasn't going to let Ryan walk away like nothing happened. I wasn't going to let him win. So I made him an offer. You're going to break it off with Sophie. His lip curled. Already planned on it. Of course he did. She was old news. He'd found someone else already, probably. I nodded. You're also going to tell her the truth. His face twitched. What truth? That she meant nothing to you. That you used her. That you never planned to leave your wife. Ryan scoffed. Why the hell would I do that? I tapped the phone screen again. He paled. Because if you don't, I hit send. His hands curled into fists. His eyes darted toward the exit. He was thinking about running. I almost wanted him to. Because the moment he stepped outside, Allison was waiting. Ryan stared at my phone, his face drained of color. His fingers twitched on the table like he wanted to grab it and smash it. But he didn't. Because he knew he was screwed. I could see his brain working. Trying to figure a way out. If you send that email, I'll lose everything. His voice was low now. Controlled. Yeah. I took a slow sip of my drink. That's the point. He exhaled sharply, running a hand down his face. Okay. Fine. He straightened, trying to pull himself together. I'll do it. I'll tell Sophie the truth. I didn't say anything. Just kept staring at him. He was lying. I knew it. He was going to tell Sophie some half-assed version of the truth. Make himself look like the good guy. Maybe even try to twist it so I looked like the villain. And that? Wasn't gonna happen. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the table. You're gonna do it tonight. In person. His eyes flickered. What? No. I can't just, you can. I tapped my phone screen again. Or you know what happens next. His jaw clenched. I watched as he processed his options. Realized he didn't have any. Fine. His voice was tight. I'll do it. I sat back, smiling. Good. But I wasn't done yet. Ryan left first. I stayed behind, nursing my drink. I was supposed to feel satisfied. But I didn't. Something still felt off. I scrolled through my phone, rereading my messages with Allison. She had been the one to reach out first. She had sent me the pictures, the proof. But the more I thought about it, the more it nagged at me. Why would she do that? Why would a woman expose her husband's affair so quickly, without even trying to fix things first? I tapped on her contact. My finger hovered over the call button. Then, before I could think too hard about it, I pressed it. She picked up after 2 rings. Hey. Her voice was calm, almost expectant. I have a question, I said. Okay. I hesitated. Then I went for it. Why did you send me the pictures? A pause. Then, because you deserve to know. Too quick. Too rehearsed. My grip tightened on the phone. That's not the whole reason, is it? Silence. Then, a quiet sigh. No, my stomach twisted. What's the real reason, Allison? She hesitated. And then she said something that made my blood run cold. Because Sophie wasn't the only woman Ryan was sleeping with. My brain stopped. Everything inside me went still. What? Allison exhaled. Your fiancé wasn't his only side piece. She was just one of them. I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. Sophie's betrayal was already bad enough. But now I had to live with the fact that she had thrown me away for nothing. She wasn't special. She was just one of many. Who else? My voice was tight. Allison hesitated again. Then she said the last name I ever expected to hear. My sister. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles went white. Your sister? I repeated. Yeah. Her voice was bitter now. She's 22. Fresh out of college. Ryan was helping her get a job. I squeezed my eyes shut. Jesus Christ. I found out a few weeks ago, she continued. I was going to confront him. But then I saw his texts with Sophie. And I realized, I finished for her. That we could destroy him together. Yeah. I exhaled, rubbing a hand over my face. This changed everything. I thought I was just dealing with some cocky asshole who stole my fiancé. But Ryan was worse. He was a predator. And Sophie? She had thrown away our life for a guy who didn't even respect her enough to be exclusive in his cheating. Pathetic. I opened my eyes. My mind was clear now. Are you still at home? I asked. Allison hesitated. Yeah. Stay there. I stood up, grabbing my keys. I'm coming over. By the time I got to Allison's house, Ryan was already there. I pulled up just in time to see him storming toward the front door. He looked pissed. Perfect. I stepped out of my car. Hey, Ryan. He froze. Spun around. His eyes widened when he saw me. What the F, I cut him off. She knows about your little side project. His face drained. What? His voice cracked. Your wife, I said. She knows about Sophie. She knows about her sister. She knows about all of it. I took a slow step forward. And now? So does Sophie. His mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. Then, you son of a, he charged at me. Ryan charged at me. I barely had time to brace before he slammed into me, shoving me backward into Allison's car. The metal frame dug into my lower back, but I didn't feel it. Because all I felt was rage. I had let this man take everything from me. My relationship. My trust. My peace. Not anymore. I shoved him off, hard. He staggered back, his face twisted in fury. You ruined my life, he spat. I laughed. I ruined your life? You did that all by yourself. He came at me again, but this time I was ready. I ducked his swing and caught him by the collar, slamming him against the side of the car. You lied to your wife. I shoved him. You used my fiancé. Another shove. And you thought you'd get away with it? His hands clawed at mine, trying to break free. You think you're some kind of hero, he panted. Like you're better than me? I leaned in close. No. But at least I'm not a coward. His eyes flickered with something, fear, maybe. Then he turned his head and froze. Because standing at the front door, staring at us, was Sophie. She looked awful. Dark circles under her eyes. Hair a mess. She was still wearing the oversized sweater I had bought her for Christmas 2 years ago. The one she used to wear when she curled up next to me on the couch. I felt nothing seeing her in it now. Her gaze flickered between Ryan and me. What is going on? Ryan wrenched himself free from my grip, staggering back. Nothing, he said quickly. Go inside, Sophie. She ignored him. Her eyes locked onto mine. Why are you here? I took a slow breath. Because there's something you need to know. Her arms wrapped around herself. I don't. Allison stepped out of the house then. Sophie saw her and froze. Realization dawned on her face. You set me up? I almost laughed. Set you up? You did this to yourself, Sophie. She blinked, looking between us, her breathing shallow. I don't understand. Allison's voice was like a knife. Ryan was sleeping with my sister too. Sophie stumbled back, like she had been physically hit. Her mouth opened. Closed. Her hands started shaking. She wiped her eyes, breathing hard. I ruined everything, didn't I? I looked at her. The woman I had loved. The woman who had killed us. Yeah, I said. You did. She collapsed onto the curb, covering her face. Sobbing. Ryan stood there, his lip curled, like none of this mattered to him at all. Allison was silent beside me, her arms crossed tight over her chest. The four of us. The wreckage of a disaster we all played a part in. And yet, as I stood there, I realized something. I was done. With all of it. Ryan left first. He didn't look back. Sophie didn't move from the curb. I thought about leaving her there, letting her sit in the mess she made. But instead, I sighed and sat down next to her. Not close. But enough for her to know I was there. She sniffled. I'm sorry. I looked at her. So am I. We sat in silence for a long time. Finally, she whispered, "Do you think you'll ever forgive me?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. Then I stood up. I hope so. And I walked away. This wasn't a movie. There wasn't some big dramatic fight where I got the last punch. There wasn't some moment where Sophie begged and I took her back. There was just pain. And then, acceptance. Sometimes, the people we love make choices that break us. And sometimes, all we can do is let them go. I don't know what happened to Ryan after that night. I don't care. Sophie tried to reach out a few times. I didn't respond. I moved on. It wasn't easy. But one day, I woke up and realized I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. And for the first time in a long time. That was enough.